Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara Mare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Kara Mare Toma Bina He Dayala Jagat samsare Toma bina Dayalo Jagat samsare Shri Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Kara More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More Toma Bina Ki Dayalo Jagat Samsare Toma Bina Patita Pavana Hetu Patara Patita Pavana Hetu Tavaya Vatara Mosamapa Tita Prabhu na paibe Tita Prabhu na paibe Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Kripa Bala Kanakara Ame Baro Dukhi Kripa Bala Daya Karo Sita Prati Advaita Gosai Daya Karo Sita Prati Advaita Gosai Tabo Kripa Bole Pai Chaitanya Nitai Tava Kripa Haha Sarup Sonatana Ruparaghuna Haha Sarup Sonatana Ruparaghuna Bhatta Juga Sri Jivaha Prabhu Lakona Bhatta Daya Karo Sri Acharya Prabhu Sinima Daya Karo Ramachandra Sangamage Naratamada Ramachandra Sangamage Naratamada Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Sri Krishna Doma Bina Kidayala Jagata Samsare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Narottam Thakur, Jaya Narottam Das Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, Jaya Narottam Das Thakur. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. A prayer to the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga and his associates. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship in this free world? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen soul, but I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is, first, my dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. O Sarup Damodar, a personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, O Six Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Jiva Goswami. O Loknath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, I pray for your mercy also. O Srinivasacharya, successor of the six Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desired the company of Ramachandra Chakravarti. Narottam Das Thakur ki jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Narottam Das Thakur ki. So we're reading the glories of Narottam Das Thakur. Today we'll be reading from Sitala Dasi's book, published 2017. And we'll read from the beginning and as far as we can go. Yes, the glorious life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. This is a quote from Srila Prabhupada. The prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. This sound is above the material platform. It is directly from the spiritual platform. And there is no need of understanding the language. It is just like a thunderburst. Everyone can hear the sound of thunder. There is no misunderstanding. Similarly, these songs of Narottam Das Thakur are above the material platform, and they crack like thunder within your heart. No one feel? Yeah, it's a quote from Prabhupada. No one feel that during the bhajan, by Mapadi Das? No one feel their heart crack like thunder within the heart? Okay. So. Let's just read. This is a verse from the Narottam Prabhu Ashtaka, verse 1. I'm not sure who compiled this, but it's glorifying Narottam Das Thakur. Translation: I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a pure-hearted servant of Lord Chaitanya. From his splendorous moon-like lips pours a radiant shower of nectar in the form of Sri Krishna's holy name that dissipates the darkness of ignorance. So chapter 1 is the Lord Chaitanya's prediction about the appearance of Narottam Das Thakur. Okay. Yes. I mean, I'm not going to read it, but there's a whole story how this book came about. There's also a nice introduction by Inadumna Maharaj. But it's going to read the Lord's prediction and then the appearance of Narottam Das Thakur and just keep reading. It's done in somewhat of a novelized format. It's a real, what they call it, page turner. When I was in Mayapur, Advaita gave me this copy. And this is the kind where you just sit down, you just can't stop reading because she's a very wonderful gifted devotee, and her writing, she writes very, very well. So it really just throws you right into the pastimes. So. It says here, chattering monkeys scamper through the trees, gawking curiously at the group of bright-faced devotees, jubilantly singing the Lord's holy names. The kirtan party slowly wound its way through the lush green countryside, their sweet melodious chanting echoing through the thick canopy of palm and coconut trees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Losing themselves in the joy of the kirtan, the devotees chanted with full absorption, their voices brimming with devotion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in the center of the devotees, his radiant golden body swaying gracefully to the beat of the pulsating mridangos. As they walked, the mridanga players quickened the beat. The brass kartals chimed in time, flashing in the morning sunlight. Powerful waves of ecstasy surged through the kirtan party as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his long, graceful arms and leapt into the air. The devotees surrounded him, dancing with wild abandon, their bare feet pounding the soft ground, raising clouds of dust. Suddenly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped dancing. Standing motionless, he stared intently into the distance and fervently called, "Narottam! Narottam!" His body trembled and tears poured from his eyes with uncontrollable force. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, he grabbed onto Nityananda Prabhu for support, but then collapsed to the ground and rolled in the dust, crying again and again, "Narottam! Narottam!" Everyone say that. Narottam! Narottam! There you go. Okay. Bewildered by the Lord's sudden outburst, the devotees stopped singing. Glancing at each other with uncertainty, they gathered around the Lord and softly sang the holy names, waiting for his ecstatic trance to abate. Kneeling, Sri Nityananda Prabhu whispered sweet, pacifying words in the Lord's ear. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, simply threw his arms around Nityananda's neck and continued to cry. Worried, Sri Nityananda Prabhu turned to Bhakeshwar and Haridas. I've never seen him shed such profuse tears. Hoping to revive the Lord, Bhakeshwar led the devotees and loudly chanted the names of Lord Jagannath. Hearing this, the Lord regained his composure. Sitting up, he wiped tears from his eyes and motioned to Nityananda Prabhu to come close. "Nitai," he whispered, "you know that Sankirtan is everything to me. It is my very life. I want everyone in this world to taste the nectar of the holy name, but soon you and I will leave this world. Who will spread the chanting after we are gone? Who will keep the flame of love I have brought into the world burning? Before I leave, I must empower someone to carry on this wonderful Sankirtan movement. I have such a wealth of love of God, and I must leave it with someone, but who is qualified to inherit such riches?" "My Lord," said Nityananda softly, "you know everything, only you can answer that question. Is there anyone capable of carrying on your mission? Who is worthy of inheriting your love?" "Yes, Nitai, there is someone. His name is Narottam." "Narottam?" Nityananda Prabhu asked. "Who is Narottam? Just a few minutes ago you were calling his name and crying so hard I feared for your life, but I don't know of anyone named Narottam among your associates." "Narottam has not yet appeared in this world," the Lord replied, "but soon he will take birth nearby on the other side of the Padmavati River in the town of Keturi. Narottam will be such a wonderful devotee that every word coming from his mouth will be filled with love of God. And anyone who sings his praises will certainly attain love of God." Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki! Just want to throw that in there. Love of God. "If I leave my love with him, it is certain that the nectarine ocean of Sankirtan will continue to flood the entire universe." Puzzled, Nityananda inquired, "But if Narottam has not yet been born, how will you give him your love?" Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled. "Tomorrow I will enter the Padmavati River and deposit my love for Narottam to receive in the future. At the appropriate time, you must guide Narottam to the riverbank to collect the divine treasure that awaits him." The Lord then stood and resumed his chanting. That evening the devotees spoke among themselves in hushed voices. "Who is this Narottam?" the Lord called for it. No one except Nityananda Prabhu could answer, but he remained silent. Following morning, the kirtan party moved slowly along the sandy footpath, chanting and dancing as they sang the holy names. As they reached a clearing in the trees, the deep blue of the Padmavati River came into view. At the riverbank, Nityananda Prabhu turned to the devotees and stopped the kirtan. Watching carefully, he said, "Something extraordinary is about to take place. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to place his divine love into the Padmavati River. Sometime in the future, this love will be given to a devotee named Narottam." The devotees watched curiously as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stepped with his lotus feet into the water and slowly waded toward the river's center. To their amazement, the placid river swelled with joy. Transformed by the Lord's touch, the water appeared to dance in glee, swirling and gurgling as it rose higher and higher. Within moments, the river overflowed with ecstasy, spilling on its banks and gushing onto the land. All at once, an extraordinary, beautiful woman rose from the waves. She stood before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with folded hands. Her silken garments shimmered in the breeze, and her jeweled crown sparkled in the morning sunlight. She asked humbly, "My Lord, how can I serve you?" "O goddess of this river, Padmavati Devi," Mahaprabhu said, "I want to leave my transcendental property in your care. Please take my love and keep it with you until a devotee named Narottam bathes here. At that time, deliver this love to him." "Yes, my Lord," she said submissively, "but how will I recognize Narottam?" When a young, dark-complexioned boy who is filled with love of God enters your waters, causing them to surge and flood the land as they did today, you will know that that is Narottam. "My dear Lord," she asked, "if this boy has so much devotion that his touch will cause me to overflow with ecstasy even before he has received your divine treasure, what will be his condition after receiving your love?" "Don't worry," the Lord interrupted. "Narottam will sustain my love. When he comes, simply give my love to him." Quivering with joy, Padmavati Devi received Mahaprabhu's love, offered her obeisances, and disappeared into the receding waters. The devotees who observed this exchange stood transfixed, mouths agape, eyes wide with astonishment. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turned to them and said calmly, "Begin kirtan." News of this miraculous incident quickly spread throughout the land. Devotees everywhere waited eagerly for Narottam's appearance, each of them hoping for the opportunity to meet such a special devotee. This is another verse from the Narottam Prabhu Ashtaka, verse 2. "I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Narottam Das Thakur, whose face is bathed in perspiration and torrents of tears due to the bliss of chanting the holy names. His gladdened smile and shining teeth illuminate all directions." So this is chapter 2, the birth and youth of Narottam Das Thakur. A prince is born. The sun rose over the palm trees, illuminating the village of Keturi. As the warm rays streamed through the window of his palace, King Krishnananda Datta sat silently worshipping his family deity. Picking up a handful of tulsi leaves, he gently placed them at the Lord's feet, thus completing his puja. Staring intently at the deity, bowing his head and folding his hands, he humbly pleaded, "My dear Lord, if you so desire, please bless our family by sending us a son." The king offered his obeisances and walked out onto the veranda. Surveying the capital of his small kingdom, his heart swelled with pride to see the well-kept village homes surrounded by gardens that overflowed with fruits, vegetables, and grains. What a paradise, he thought. The soil in Keturi is so fertile that practically anything grows here. Krishnananda's gaze swept the horizon. As far as he could see, the countryside was lush with banana, jackfruit, mango, and coconut palm trees which spread their deep green foliage beneath a clear blue sky. Inhaling deeply, he savored the exquisite fragrances of many varieties of flowers carried on the morning breeze. It's truly a blessing to rule over such opulence, he reflected. I have everything a man could want, land, wealth, and a devoted wife. The Supreme Lord has certainly been kind to me. Yet, and the king's brow furrowed slightly, all these blessings cannot fill the void in my heart. Without a son, my home appears empty and lifeless. To whom shall I turn over my kingly responsibilities when I am old? And how can I pacify my good wife Narayani, who suffers without a child to nurture? Krishnananda shook his head sadly. I know I am becoming too old to entertain such thoughts, but I just cannot give up my desire for a son. Then sighing, he turned from the window. Well, I mustn't waste the day dreaming. The Supreme knows that my wife and I are anxious to have a child, but we must wait to see what he desires. Krishnananda sat alone in his chamber reflecting on the affairs of the village. His thoughts were interrupted by a loud voice that echoed in the room. Soon you will be the father of a son named Narottam. This boy will shower the earth with love of God. Stunned, Krishnananda looked around to see who had spoken, but he found no one to match the extraordinary voice. Spellbound, he waited expectantly for the voice to continue, and nothing more was said. What? Am I in my right senses, he whispered to himself, doubting the reality of what he had heard. Did I really hear that voice, or was I merely dreaming? Am I a victim of delusion, imagining good news? Krishnananda shook himself. No, he assured himself emphatically. I definitely heard a voice. It was no dream. My eyes are open. I am fully conscious. What I heard could be nothing other than a divine prophecy. His heart leapt to think that his desire for a son might be fulfilled. He hurried to share the good news with his wife. A few days later, in the early morning, Narayani rushed into her husband's chamber, her face flushed with excitement. Prabhu, last night I dreamed that an extraordinary person came from your body and entered mine. This must be another omen that we are to have a son. Krishnananda looked unsure. Your dream confirms the oracle I heard the other day, but don't raise your expectations too high. Whatever the Supreme Lord ordains, that we must accept. Yes, Prabhu, she said, and silently left the room. Despite her husband's advice, hope blossomed within her heart. Neither of them mentioned the omens again, but they couldn't stop their minds from dwelling on the prospect of having a child. Shortly after this incident, Krishnananda was relaxing in his chamber when an astrologer paid him an unexpected visit. Always a gracious host, Krishnananda welcomed him. Come in, friend, make yourself comfortable. I'll have the servant bring you a cool drink. And please let my wife and I hear something about our future. The learned Brahmin accepted the gracious hospitality, sipping his drink as he settled down cross-legged on a cushion. Spreading some charts out before him, he silently made several complicated calculations. The king and queen waited anxiously. Suddenly the astrologer gasped and smiled brightly. Oh, this is wonderful, he exclaimed. You will certainly have a son who will be a remarkable devotee of the Supreme Lord. He will have the power to destroy the world's miseries, and he will bring great happiness and fortune to your family. Delighted by his words, Krishnananda showered the astrologer with gifts and bid him farewell. Now he and his wife felt certain that their long-cherished dream would come true. Narayani was soon pregnant. The elated couple waited impatiently for the months to pass, hardly able to think of anything other than their unborn child. Finally, at 6 o'clock in the morning, on the full moon day of Magh, February, Narayani gave birth to a healthy male child. So, 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours ago. Right? It's 8 o'clock now. This is the Punyam, like the full moon, and not the Magh. When the child appeared, an unearthly effulgence illuminated the delivery room, and profound happiness swelled in the hearts of everyone present. Narayani gazed lovingly at the charming face of her son. Just see how beautiful he is, she exclaimed to the midwives. His features are exquisitely fine, and his eyes are like lotus petals. Embracing her child tightly, she wept with joy. One of the midwives rushed out of the room and announced the good news. Krishnananda beamed with delight and hurried to see his son. The musicians waiting in the palace courtyard for the birth announcement played celebratory music, and the village Brahmins loudly chanted auspicious Vedic hymns. News of the child's birth spread quickly. The residents of Kaituri, having great affection for their Raj and Rani, rushed to the palace with gifts for the newborn child. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the little prince. Though the proud father could barely take his eyes off his child's face, Krishnananda managed to welcome each visitor warmly. Amid this excitement, Narayani suddenly saw the most beautiful, resplendent figures enter her room. One of them was glowing like molten gold, and another had a creamy white complexion and wore brilliant blue garments. Who could that be? Right? Amazed, Narayani sat up, staring with wide eyes as the extraordinary personalities danced ecstatically in her home. Bewildered, she looked around. No one else in the room seemed to notice the remarkable scene. When she turned again to look at the dancers, they had vanished. Narayani sank back onto her pillow. Overcome with confusion, excitement, and fatigue, she thought, I must be imagining things. Unable to comprehend that the Supreme Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his associates had blessed her home with their presence, she simply turned back to look at her son's face. In moments, she had forgotten everything else. Feeling herself the most fortunate woman in the universe, her heart overflowed with happiness and contentment. When all the visitors had left, Krishnananda made arrangements for an 8-day celebration. Calling his servants, he declared, I want huge quantities of clothing, blankets, utensils, and prasad to be given to all the people of Kaituri. especially the sadhus and brahmanas. Spare no expense, everyone should feel satisfied and happy. The child will thus receive everyone's blessings. Soon after, Krishnananda called a few local pandits to calculate the child's astrological chart and to recommend a suitable name. After carefully studying the chart, the astrologers agreed it was extraordinarily auspicious. This is definitely not the chart of an ordinary person, one of them announced. We can also understand it simply by looking at the auspicious signs on the child's body. Yes, another astrologer agreed, this child will have all good qualities and be extremely religious. He will bring great fortune to everyone in this region. Glowing with pride and happiness, Krishnananda asked, "What shall we name him?" The pandits discussed at length and eventually concluded, "We all agree that the boy's name should contain one or more of the syllables Na, Ra, and Ta. We think Narottam would be a suitable name because Nara means man and Uta means the topmost. It is clear from this boy's chart that he will indeed be the greatest of men." "Splendid," Krishnananda exclaimed. "How amazing it is," he said softly to his wife, "that these astrologers have chosen the same name the oracle predicted before the child's conception." Turning to the astrologers, the king asked, "Now tell me, what else do you see in his chart?" Each astrologer gave an enthusiastic interpretation of the chart, describing in detail various aspects of the boy's character and destiny. One of the pandits, however, warned, "Majumdara, I must caution you that there is one thing to watch out for. Be careful when you take your son to the river. It could be dangerous for him there." Raja Krishnananda shivered at the thought of any possible danger to his son and firmly resolved that although he lived a short distance from the Padmavati river, he would keep Narottam away from the water. 6 months passed swiftly as Krishnananda and Narayani doted on their growing child, who was the joy of their lives. Krishnananda sent out invitations inscribed on golden plates to his friends and relatives, inviting them to attend the baby's Anaprasana ceremony, at which Narottam would be offered his first grains. I guess if Brahmins received invitations on golden plates, they would attend more functions. Right? This is just the invitation. After the ceremony, guests and family members gathered around the infant, eager to watch him taste his first rice. But to everyone's dismay, the child refused to open his mouth. They coaxed him again and again, but Narottam repeatedly turned his head away in disgust. The guests looked at each other nervously, and the festive mood was replaced with confusion. No one knew what to do. Then one thoughtful Brahmin stepped forward and assured everyone, "Don't worry, this baby won't eat the sweet rice because it hasn't been offered to Lord Krishna." Realizing that someone had forgotten to offer the food, Krishnananda quickly placed it on the altar. Then once again his mother offered Narottam a spoonful. To everyone's relief, the child happily devoured the rice. Krishnananda mused, "For generations, worship of the Supreme Lord has been customary in our family. This child, although still so young, is already teaching us to be more mindful of our religious duties." Then Krishnananda announced, "My son should be given only the Lord's Mahaprasad from now on." Childhood. Maharaj Krishnananda sat next to his brother Purushottam Dat in the main room of the palace, surrounded by many servants. "There are less than 2 months left until the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri," he announced. "So hundreds of pilgrims will pass through Keturi on their way to the festival. It's our duty to receive them properly and make their stay in Keturi as comfortable as possible. We must start preparing the accommodations and set up a kitchen to feed them all. Everything should be organized perfectly. No one should feel any inconvenience while they are here in Keturi." After assigning different responsibilities to the servants, Krishnananda said, "There is no time to lose. Work must begin immediately. Already some Vaishnava pilgrims have arrived. Tonight one of them will give a discourse in the courtyard of the palace temple." Saying this, the king dismissed everyone and entered the private chambers. Looking out his window, Krishnananda noticed little Narottam playing in the front of the palace with some village children. "Naru, oh Naru," he called affectionately, "where are you going?" Narottam waved happily. I'm going, Pita. I'm going to see the river with my friend." "What? You come back into the palace right now," Krishnananda ordered. Rushing outside, he swept Narottam up in his arms and hugged him tightly to his chest. Naru, you don't know, you don't have to leave the palace for anything. Whatever you want, we'll bring it to you here. Pita, I want to go to the river. No, I told you many times that rivers are dangerous for you. Seeing the hurt in his son's eyes, Krishnanda spoke more gently. Don't worry, Naru. I will have a pond dug next to the palace to fill it with water from the Padma. Then you can learn to swim with the guards watching you. Now run along inside and take your bath. Tonight we'll listen to the sadhus speak. Narottam ran obediently into the house, and Krishnananda turned to the village children. Don't ever mention the river to Narottam again. He fumed. The children ran away, and Krishnananda turned to the guards near the palace door. What is this nonsense? Why didn't you bring my son back inside? You know he is absolutely forbidden to go to the river. Never let this happen again. It's getting late, so let's read the section where he bathes in the river, okay? We'll end with that. Is that okay? There's so many nice things here, but pilgrims. What it is, who was this? The Lord stayed, started instructing Krishnadas. Stayed there. Okay, here it is. So he's older, and actually we start talking about getting him married. So it says here, Narottam lay on his bed, staring into the darkness of night, his mind spinning. I can't bear to hear another word about property management or collecting taxes. I have absolutely no interest in those things. I just want to dedicate my life fully to the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He sighed deeply. I want so much to be in Vrindavan. I desperately want to meet the personal associates of Mahaprabhu still living there. Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Das. Many of them are very old. How much longer can they remain in this world? I have to get there before it's too late. Narottam lay awake with these thoughts for a long time. Finally he decided, I see no other alternative. I will have to leave home. Late in the night, as slept overtook him, Narottam had a startling vision. Sri Nityananda Prabhu appeared before him. The Lord's face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons. He had a tall, strong, heroic stature. His hands, arms, and legs were beautifully formed, and his eyes resembled lotus flowers. He wore golden earrings, armlets, and bangles. Smiling, he told Narottam, Go at once to the Padmavati river to bathe. Padmavati Devi has been keeping a gift for you, and she will deliver it when you come. She has been waiting for you. Then the Lord disappeared. Narottam woke with a start. Astonished and overcome with transcendental ecstasy, jumped out of bed. He had to get out of the palace and down to the Padmavati immediately. Afraid he might be seen by one of the ever-protective household servants, Narottam decided to climb out through his window. He stacked the furniture under a small window high up onto the wall. Scaling it, he then squeezed through and pulled himself out onto the roof. As silently as possible, he slid down to the eaves and dropped quietly to the ground. By arrangement of Providence, the sun had not yet risen and there were no guards in sight. Narottam rushed toward the Padmavati river, softly chanting the holy name all the way. When he reached the bank, he bowed down in the moist earth and then stepped into the shallows, calling out the name of Gauranga. The cool, dark water swirled around his legs and immediately began to rise higher and higher. Within moments, the river's waves surged over the banks and onto the land. Narottam suddenly saw the goddess Padmavati Devi standing before him. Shocked, he stared at her with wide-open eyes. Padmavati Devi smiled warmly at him. Before you were born, she said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left his divine love in my care and instructed me to give it to a boy named Narottam, whose touch would make my waters rise in the same way they did when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came here. Clearly you are the rightful recipient of this most extraordinary gift. I've been waiting for a long time for your visit. Now please take this topmost treasure. Saying this, Padmavati Devi moved toward Narottam with outstretched hands, holding what appeared to be a radiant golden lotus flower. Without warning, the goddess Padmavati disappeared, and Narottam was astonished to see the golden lotus transform into a luminous golden-colored boy. This exquisite form, which was no one other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, danced toward him and entered his body. Narottam felt Mahaprabhu's essence engulf him. Powerless in the grip of the Lord's ecstasy, he shouted, "Gauranga! Gauranga!" As the Lord's love infused his every limb, Narottam's swarthy complexion lightened, transforming his skin into a beautiful golden color. His skin also slackened, and he shivered and trembled uncontrollably. The current of divine love that coursed through his body was so intense that Narottam couldn't contain his emotions. Staggering out of the water, he laughed, cried, sang, and danced furiously on the banks of the Padmavati, lost in the ecstasy of love and oblivious to everything around him. Narottam was abruptly brought back to external consciousness when he heard his father's frantic shouts. "Naru, Naru, where are you? Look, there's someone over there. It doesn't look like Narottam. Oh, my dear Lord, what has happened to my son?" Squinting in the pre-dawn darkness, Narottam saw a large crowd of people rushing toward him with torches. To his surprise, he heard his mother's hysterical voice. "It is Naru. Can't you recognize your own son? Look, he's wearing Naru's ornaments." Narayani ran to where Narottam stood and kissed his face again and again. "Naru, Naru," she cried. "Why did you sneak off like this? Why didn't you tell us where you were going? We were so frightened when we found your room empty. We searched everywhere to find you. I was frantic." Taking Narottam's face in her hands, she looked at him in bewilderment. "What has happened to you? Why do you look so strange? What happened to your skin?" Her voice shook. "Are you all right?" I'm fine, Narottam managed to stutter as he tried to compose himself. But thoughts of Lord Chaitanya again surged in his heart, and he pulled away from his mother, yelling, "Gauranga, Gauranga!" Tears of ecstasy streamed from his eyes, and he danced around the crowd of confused relatives and friends. Krishnananda gaped at his son in disbelief. "What is this bizarre behavior?" he cried. "It's like he's possessed by a ghost. I have heard of a terrible Brahmana Rakshasa lives in the tamarind tree over there. Perhaps he's entered Naru's body. This is horrible. Quick, let's get him home." Bewildered and frightened, Krishnananda grabbed hold of Narottam. Narayani pleaded with her son, "Stop this, Narottam. Please come home with us now." With great difficulty, they managed to get their son home and into his bed. Realizing the anxiety he was causing, Narottam tried to calm himself, but the golden lord he had seen at the Padmavati appeared within his mind, and he again became wild. Thrashing about on the bed and tears shooting from his eyes, he called, "Gauranga, Gauranga." Suddenly his mood changed, and he began to laugh loudly. Several times he tried to jump out of bed, but Krishnananda forcefully held him down. All the while, Narayani was frantically fanning him to cool him down. Concerned relatives and friends stood around Narottam's bed, all of them helpless and perplexed. The boy repeated over and over again, "That boy, that golden, my body, entered." So they were convinced he wasn't haunted by a ghost. And anyways, it says that they just, what do you do when you have someone in such ecstasy living? They couldn't relate to it. They're just thinking maybe he could just stay there and be responsible and so on. And he's just saying he had to leave. He was under 24-hour guard, watch. So he calmed himself down. It says here, he finally calmed his understanding that his parents would just flip out. So he just calmed himself down. Nights were very, very difficult for him. He would go into great ecstasy in the evening. Here it is. You want the escape? Should I read the escape? How he escaped? Because of the time. One night Narottam lay on his bed thinking, "How much longer can I go on secretly worshiping the Lord in my room at night? When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give me his mercy? When will I be able to live with his devotees in Vrindavan?" Eventually Narottam fell into a fitful, dream-filled sleep. In his dream he saw the gorgeous golden form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Narottam stared in astonishment at his exquisite moon-like face. Beautiful curling black hair adorned his shoulders, vividly colorful garlands draped his neck, and petal-soft hands rested gracefully near his knees. When Narottam's eyes met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's infinitely deep, loving gaze, he thought his heart would explode. Overcome with emotion, he fell at the Lord's feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gently placed his foot on Narottam's head and said, "Don't worry about anything. I have many plans for you to carry out. Go straight to Vrindavan. There you'll be initiated by my dear devotee Lokanath. He will pour the nectar of the holy name into your ears." Then, without warning, the Lord disappeared. Narottam woke up, gripped by the intense feelings of separation from his beloved. Full of anguish, he beat his fist into his pillow and cried, "Where are you, my Lord?" He felt that without his Lord he was enveloped in darkness within and without. He tossed and turned on his bed, his heart burning with grief. Over many hours he calmed and eventually fell back asleep. Once more the Lord appeared to him in his dream. By this time he stood on the bank of the Ganges in Navadvip. Surrounded by Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas Thakur. There were many other devotees there too, but Narottam couldn't recognize them. All of them were dancing and chanting ecstatically. It seemed to Narottam that the entire population of Navadvip had swarmed onto the riverbank, eager to get a glimpse of this divine pastime. Narottam could see that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods and goddesses in disguised forms walking among the people and straining to catch a glimpse of the extraordinary Sankirtan. Even animals and birds looked on with wide eyes, captivated by the beautiful scene. To his astonishment, Narottam was not merely to be a spectator of the extraordinary scene, rather, he was allowed to enter into it. And he found himself again at the Lord's lotus feet. Narottam fell to the ground, weeping in disbelief and joy. Lord Chaitanya gently lifted him and embraced him. Narottam felt his heart melting with such exchanges of love. The Lord's embrace seemed timeless, and Narottam wished it would never end. As Lord Chaitanya finally withdrew his arms from Narottam's shoulders, Narottam began to fall again. Other devotees, however, caught him in their arms, also warmly embracing him. Many encouraged him to go to Vrindavan without delay. For a second time that evening, Narottam awoke. He lay on his bed crying with joy. He now had full confirmation of what to do next. He would go to Vrindavan soon. He just had to wait for the right moment. It says a few days later, a horseman arrived at the palace with a message for the king. Krishnananda frowned as he read its contents. I guess the king had to go away on business. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it says, "What is it, Prabhu?" Narayani asked with concern. "It's from the Nawab. He's heard about Narottam." Narayani raised her eyebrows. "What does this mean?" Krishnananda put down the letter and took a deep breath. "Well, it seems Narottam's unusual behavior has drawn attention." He looked at Narayani with concern. "He says he wants to meet Narottam." Nawab Hussain Shah. Narayani nearly fainted at the thought. "No," she cried. He says, "Don't worry, I'll send a convoy of armed guards to protect Narottam." Okay, so what it is, it says here, that's when he escaped. The first night of the convoy, he just got up and left. As the sun slowly arched the sky, Narottam ran without pause. So in the middle of the night, he just left on the way to see the Nawab. He just started running and running and running. Sweat soaked his clothes. His throat was parched like that. His only thought was Vrindavan. Days passed and still Narottam ran, never daring to rest for more than an hour or two at a time. And then then the guards caught up with him. Said, Raj Kumar, one of them said, "We have found you at last." And then he talked his way out of it. Yeah, he talked his way out. Told the guards, more or less, "I've sold my heart to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu," just like a wife sells her heart to her husband. So that. And then he finally makes it to Vrindavan. It says here in Vrindavan, seemingly from nowhere, a gold-skinned Brahmin boy suddenly appeared before him and offered him a pot of milk. "Drink this," the boy said. "It will take away all your aches and pains." Then all of a sudden the boy disappeared, and both Rupa and Sanatana Goswami appeared. So he met Rupa and Sanatana Goswami first in Vrindavan. So, Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai.